Hi, I need the state of Connecticut's help because my son is a quadriplegic, and the other day we went to a doctor's visit and it was disgusting at best. We were treated like two drug addicts, not a quadriplegic person. We get into this doctor's office that two doctors merged. I think it was Yale Hospital and L&M merged together, and they fired his doctor probably because he's a very expensive doctor. So now we had no doctor. So we go into this new doctor that they're finally, because of another doctor calling him saying you can't take this kid off of his medication regime or he could die. He calls them and tells them they have to take us. So we leave the foyer and we go into the back where there's other people mulling around, and the nurse proceeds to tell us that you have to submit to random drug tests. I said, well, that's okay. I said he only takes the meds that he's allowed to, and he also gets medical marijuana. So she states that'll be fine. She tries to have my son sign the form, and I said he's a quadriplegic, he can't sign. So she's like, do you sign for him? I said, yes, I do. So I signed for him. Then she proceeds to tell my son to go into this room, which is now a bathroom that I didn't know at first. He goes in there and she tries to hand him a urine sample bottle. She says, pee in this bottle, which I already told her it comes out of the bag, so it'll be easy for her to get. She told him to pee in this bottle and then put it in this thing, and then shuts the door and leaves him. I said, he's a quadriplegic. He didn't get it better over the last 2 seconds. So she says, well, are you going to help him? I said, well, you're the nurse, shouldn't you? It's in the bag. All you got to do is, So I said, forget it. I'll do it. So now I go into the bathroom and I get my son's urine sample and I bring it to her. We go into the office and I give her a thing of meds, a list of medications, and it says the times, how many pills we have left, what the medication is, the milligrams, and how many refills are left. Now she proceeds to go through 6 years of medication for it, and I'm like, the list is right here. She wouldn't look at the list. She wanted to go through one by one. This is every medication that he could have been on in 6 years for viruses, whatnot. But we do. Then she proceeds to tell us again, we will have to submit to random drug tests. If he does not submit to them, then he could not be into this program. If he fails them and he has stuff in his system that wasn't prescribed, he will be terminated from the program. She also proceeded to tell us that they can call us at any time and tell us that his meds have to be brought down, and he's to come down with his bottle of meds and they will count them. If their count is not exactly right, then we will be terminated from this program. I explained to her that the meds are locked in a safe, that only I have the key, and an alarm goes off and then the staff can distribute the meds as needed. So I explained to her that this could be tough because I work to help support my son, because with what the state gives him, he can't live on it alone, which is fine. That's something I do because I want to. So then she proceeds to say, well, if you can't agree to this, then you can't be part of this group. So we won't be the ones with you. So I said, okay, I'll figure something out. So she was like not compassionate, but this was just the nurse, and I'm thinking, okay, the doctor's got to be better. So in comes the doctor. Instead of looking at my son's face, she looks directly at his arm. Now I realize she's looking to see if he's a drug addict. Then she proceeds to try to shake his hand. And I said, he's a quadriplegic. He can't do that. So then she sits down, she sledges into her computer, and then she turns around and she goes, I'm going to start this off by saying, I am not Dr. O'Keefe, and I won't be prescribing this, that, and not as much of that. Then she proceeds to ask my son how he's feeling. He explains to her that the first 2 hours of his morning are excruciating pain, and we have to have strong staff people in there to stretch him for 2 hours. Most of the time it works, and it'll get him out of pain and get him to the point where they can put him in a wheelchair. Sometimes he has to get back into the bed and start all over again. Then she says, well, how is your pain right now? And he says, my pain is tolerable. She said, tolerable, what's the level? And I think he said like a 2 or 3, but he's never out of pain. He's in pain 24/7. There's nothing he can do. He takes the smallest amount of medication to make him be able to function and stay, happier as he can be. Then she proceeds again, after listening to us for a half an hour, to say, okay, well, I'm not prescribing this, I'm not prescribing that, and I'm going to take you down on this. My son says to her, did you hear anything we said? She says, I heard everything you said. And he says, well, how can you be saying this? Because I'm on the lowest possible dose. He says, I need these meds to survive. I do the best I can for trying to stay as low as possible. She proceeds to get frustrated and accused us of overtaking his med that he gets every 36 hours. She says, you had 20 last month. And I said, yes, and if you do the math, 20 every 36, I said 20 divided by 36 hours, you get, that's what he needs for a month. She says, oh, I did the math wrong. So now she refuses to listen to anything he has to say and decides, this is it. We're all getting frustrated, so she says, I'll be back. She actually went for a timeout to put us in a timeout and herself, I guess. But I know it was to get us to calm down. She comes back in and she starts to state, this is the only thing I'm offering. If you don't like it, you guys can leave. And then proceeds to say that my son is on 390 milligrams of a med he's not even on. So at this point, it really goes south. She opens the door and we end up having to leave. So now my son still does not have a doctor. On Friday the 7th, he will run out of the medication that could put him through withdrawal and die. And nobody seems to want to help us. We were not treated like a disabled person and his mother. My son was treated like a drug addict, and I was looking like a person who was trying to help him be a drug addict. It is not fair to treat somebody who's disabled that way. Everything my son does for himself or for us, or we do for him, is hard. Down to scratching, feeding, eating, going to the bathroom. Everything is hard. The one thing that did not need to be hard was a doctor's visit. We got out into the car, and as we were driving down the highway, the tears just started flowing down my face. My son was like, oh my God, Mom, you'd never cry. And I said, when I'm mad, and I'm that mad, I said, it did bring me to tears. Now I've spent my only day off, Monday, and I had been calling the governor. I have called Channel 3, Channel 8, Public Health, the Disability Rights Network, another disabled network, the CEO of the hospital, and I don't know what I'm going to do with my son on the 7th. If he starts to go through withdrawal, and he could die. Nobody seems to be able to give him the med, and this doctor treated us like total shit. So I need you to share this because this is what's going on. Dr. Maureen Lynch, who agreed to take us and has had 2 doctors state that this is what Corey needs, and if you go to the Christopher Reeve website, everybody is on those same meds because that's what works for a quadriplegic. And now I can't find anybody to give him his meds. So if you can share this, because this is what drug addiction has done to this country. Not only is it keeping it away from the drug addicts and they're going out and they're killing themselves on a daily basis, but it's now keeping it away from people that need this. And if my son passes away over withdrawal, and it's just because he's a quadriplegic. So I need people to share this. Disabled people should not be treated this way. My son is not a drug addict. He is disabled. Please help us. Please share this. I don't care if you share it with your congressman. I don't care where you share it. Any news group, I do not care. I need to get results for my son, please. Thank you.